3 months ago, a hotel room near the Burj Khalifa for the last week of February was going for around $220 a night. Today, those same rooms are going for a fraction of that. Not because Dubai built too many hotels, not because tourism hit a slow season, because more than 80,000 hotel bookings were canceled in a single week, because more than 37,000 flights were grounded, because the beaches at Jumeirah Beach residents, which in February should be shoulder to shoulder with Europeans escaping winter, are almost empty. The sun loungers are still there, the pool attendants are still there, the $600 cocktails are still on the menu. Nobody is ordering them. Dubai's nightlife, its beach clubs, bars, rooftop lounges, and after-dark economy did not collapse because of one bad week. It collapsed because it was built on a structure with no survival mechanism the moment occupancy fell. And what the empty clubs exposed was not a temporary tourism shock. It was design. In virtually every city in the world with serious nightlife, like London, New York, Tokyo, and Singapore, bars and clubs can survive on their own. They have premises on side streets and inside neighborhoods. They build regulars. They outlast downturns because the people who love them live nearby and keep coming back. A pub in Shoreditch does not need the Hilton to be at 80% occupancy to open its doors on a Thursday night. Dubai made a different choice, a deliberate one. By law and regulatory design, almost all alcohol-serving venues in Dubai must operate inside licensed hotel properties or permitted entertainment complexes. There is no independent bar culture here in the way that exists in every other major nightlife city. For years, this was sold as a feature, not a bug. It meant the government controlled the environment. It meant venues were polished, regulated, attached to world-class hospitality infrastructure. It meant you were always drinking in a five-star setting. But it also meant something else, something the marketing campaigns never said out loud. Dubai's nightlife economy had a single point of failure: hotel occupancy. Across Dubai's prime beachfront and central districts, hotels were running at roughly 80% occupancy in peak season, with average daily rates near $220. Venues inside those hotels were full. The rooftop bars, the beach clubs, and the underground clubs attached to five-star properties were all sustained by the endless flow of tourists and expat professionals who kept the rooms filled. Then on February 28, 2026, occupancy dropped below 20% in those same districts in a matter of days. Not 20% below where it had been, below 20% total. Judith Cartwright, Chief Executive Officer of hotel commercial strategy firm Black Coral Consulting, told AGBI that hotels needed to completely rethink their approach when demand falls to that level. She was not exaggerating. A rooftop bar attached to a hotel running at 15% occupancy does not recruit locals to fill the gap. There are no locals to recruit, because Dubai built its nightlife on top of tourists, and tourists do not become regulars. More than 80,000 hotel bookings were canceled in the first week of the crisis. More than 37,000 flights were grounded. Emirates Airline was operating at roughly 60% of its usual network, 106 daily return flights to 83 destinations instead of its normal full schedule. The delivery mechanism for the entire nightlife economy was cut off at the source. Tourism Economics, in an analysis cited by Euronews and Yahoo Finance and produced in partnership with the World Travel and Tourism Council, estimated the Middle East could record 23 to 38 million fewer international visitors in 2026 than previously forecast. The projected loss in visitor spending was $34 to $56 billion. Every day across the region, tourism was losing an estimated $600 million. Dubai, as the region's premier hospitality and entertainment hub, absorbs a disproportionate share of that damage. Behind every empty beach club and silent DJ booth is a story that does not make it into Dubai Tourism Authority press releases. The hospitality sector here is powered by workers from India, Pakistan, and the Philippines. These are people who took service jobs in Dubai because the tips in peak season could support a family back home. A hotel staff member near the marina told reporters that they are used to the rush this time of year. The quiet is strange. It is a beautiful day outside. The water is perfect, but people are afraid of the news. That is what the structural design of Dubai nightlife looks like when it fails. Not the empty glasses, not the shut DJ booth. The worker standing in a perfect hotel bar on a perfect sunny day, watching the tips not come. But even if the tourists come back and the hotels fill up and the venues reopen, there is a second problem underneath the first. Because the people who are actually filling those clubs every Thursday night were not tourists. They were expats. Dubai's entire social and commercial ecosystem, nightlife included, runs not on tourists, but on the roughly 90% of the city's population who are foreign nationals living there. Bankers, consultants, tech professionals, senior managers, founders. The people who spent tax-free income in rooftop bars and Dubai International Financial Center restaurants and beach clubs. In 2025 alone, 9,800 millionaires moved to Dubai, bringing $63 billion in wealth with them. The Dubai International Financial Center, by late 2025, had become home to 290 banks, 102 hedge funds, 500 wealth management firms, and 1,289 family-related entities. And where there are financial professionals with tax-free income and somewhere to spend Thursday nights, there is nightlife. The Dubai International Financial Center itself had evolved from a sterile business zone into a destination. Pop-up cafes, rooftop restaurants, a growing bar scene. Bloomberg was writing about it weeks before the conflict, with bankers from JP Morgan and Rothschild breaking the Ramadan fast in the area's new venues. Then came the evacuations. Goldman Sachs, Citigroup, Standard Chartered, Deloitte, and PwC all instructed staff to leave their DIFC offices or to work from home. ICD Brookfield Place. The tower housing firms like BlackRock, Bank of America, JP Morgan, EY, and BNP Paribas was described by Bloomberg on March 6th as standing eerily quiet. The Rolls-Royce cars that normally lined up outside for the evening rush to high-end venues were gone. The bankers who would have been filling those rooftops were gone. On March 14th, the DIFC building facade itself was hit by debris from an intercepted drone, confirmed by AFP. And the weakness was there before the first missile flew. Unemployment among expatriates in Dubai hit 12% in February 2026, according to KPMG data, before the first strike. UBS had already ranked Dubai as having the fifth highest real estate bubble risk among 21 major global cities. Fitch Ratings had forecast a property price correction of up to 15% for 2026. The Dubai Stock Exchange fell 17% after the war began. Jim Crane, a fellow at Rice University's Baker Institute, told CNBC directly, "Dubai will literally shut down. Dubai is more exposed to the risks of an expat exodus than any comparable city." And then there is the influencer economy. An estimated 50,000 social media influencers called the United Arab Emirates home before the conflict. They were not just residents. They were the city's marketing department. Every sunset cocktail video, every beach club reel, every Dubai lifestyle post was unpaid advertising for the city's safe, glamorous brand. CNN documented what happened when the missiles came. Model and influencer Petra Ecclestone called it one of the scariest, worst nights of her life. Content creator Nicole Mira said she was reconsidering a lot of things and that she had taken the feeling of safety for granted. These are the people who were supposed to keep the world booking flights to Dubai. Now they are posting about leaving. That is not a tourism problem. That is a distribution problem. When your marketing department starts publishing fear instead of fantasy, the fantasy breaks at the source. And even that is still not the deepest problem. Because the deepest problem is the one that made all of this inevitable from the beginning. Dubai has no public bomb shelters, not for a city of 4 million people. When the sirens went on February 28th, when the interceptions lit the sky, residents took cover in underground parking garages. Parents told their children the explosions overhead were Ramadan cannon fire, the traditional boom of celebration used to explain the sound of war. This is not a city that forgot to build shelters. This is a city that never planned to need them, because Dubai's safety was never a product of infrastructure. It was a product of perception, a decades-long campaign to be the place where nothing bad happens. Cinzia Bianco of the European Council on Foreign Relations wrote that this was Dubai's ultimate nightmare because its essence depended on being a safe oasis in a troubled region. She was right, and when the entire safety proposition of a city is based on perception rather than infrastructure, and the perception breaks, there is nothing physical to fall back on. Dubai's population is roughly 89% non-citizens. Citizenship requires 30 years of residency, Arabic fluency, a clean record, and government nomination, granted selectively, not as a right. This is not an accident. It is policy architecture. The city was designed to attract talent, tourists, and capital without permanently integrating them into political membership. And what that means for nightlife is simple. Nightlife requires a community. Communities are built by people who stay. Dubai's design specifically prevents the kind of permanent staying that builds community. The venues at JBR were not built for Emiratis. Emiratis are around 11% of the population, and many abstain from alcohol on religious grounds. Those venues were built for a rotating cast of temporary residents and tourists. When the temporary residents became frightened, they became temporary again. They left, and the venues had no one to fall back on. Regional losses are now projected at $34 to $56 billion in visitor spending in 2026, more than 37,000 flights canceled. The stock market is down. Peak tourism season has been reduced to empty beachfronts, silent clubs, and hotel bars waiting for guests who are no longer arriving. Dubai will recover demand. It always has. The infrastructure is extraordinary. The connectivity, when the airspace is open, is unmatched. The tax regime remains compelling. The spectacle is still real. But recovering demand is not the same as fixing the structural design. The licensing system that tethers nightlife to hotel occupancy is not being dismantled. The citizenship architecture that keeps most of the population in a permanent state of conditional belonging is not being rewritten. And the influencer class that acted as the city's real tourism engine has had its lens cracked. The frictionless fantasy does not return simply because the missiles stop. Dubai is extraordinary at what it does, but what it does requires the tourists to keep arriving, the airspace to stay open, and expat professionals to keep choosing it over every other city on Earth. When that breaks, the nightlife does not hibernate. It stops. That is not a flaw in the design. That is the design. If you lived in Dubai, if you worked in hospitality, if you stayed through the evacuations and watched the clubs empty and the beaches clear out, drop your experience in the comments, because the press releases will not tell that story. And if honest analysis of what cities are actually built for versus what they tell you they are built for matters to you, subscribe. Because this conversation is not finished.